Most people spend their lives chasing money, but very few ever stop to understand it. The truth is, money is not mastered in the marketplace. It is mastered in the mind. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to speak with you today about a subject that touches every single life on this planet. It influences the homes we live in, the opportunities we embrace, and even the dreams we dare to pursue. That subject is money. But not the kind you fold into your wallet or store in a bank account. No, the money I'm speaking of begins long before it's ever earned, saved, or spent. It begins in the mind. For if we do not first master the psychology of money, no amount of money in the world will ever be enough. The truth is, money itself has no personality. It is neither good nor evil. It does not corrupt or purify. It is only a tool, neutral and obedient, waiting to serve the one who holds it. And yet, because of how we think, many people live in constant struggle with it. Some fear it, others chase it endlessly, and many misuse it. The wise, however, understand that the way you think about money determines how it will flow into your life. Here is a simple but powerful truth. You will never rise above the beliefs you hold about money. If you believe it is scarce, you will forever feel lack. If you believe it is abundant, you will see opportunities where others see obstacles. Wealth, like health, is first a state of mind before it is a state of being. Consider this: every fortune ever built began not with money but with an idea. Every business, every invention, every opportunity was born from thought, nurtured by discipline, and carried forward by persistence. Money is the byproduct of value created. It does not come to the one who waits. It comes to the one who acts, who dares, who contributes something of worth to others. To master the psychology of money, one must also master self-control. For money amplifies character. If you are careless without it, you will be reckless with it. If you are disciplined without it, you will be wise with it. $1 saved with purpose is more powerful than 100 squandered without thought. Let us not forget, too, that fear and greed are the twin enemies of financial peace. Fear paralyzes us into inaction, greed blinds us into foolishness. The person who steadies his mind, who thinks clearly, calmly, and confidently, will always outlast those who are ruled by emotion. So then, how do we master money? We begin with thought. We build beliefs of abundance, not scarcity. We commit to creating more value than we consume. We learn the art of patience, discipline, and gratitude. And we remember always that money is not the goal, it is the servant of our goals. Money is a servant, not a master. This is one of the greatest truths you can ever learn about wealth and life itself. For many, money becomes an obsession, a driver of decisions, and even a source of anxiety. They allow it to dictate their choices, their relationships, and their happiness. But money, in its true nature, was never designed to lead, it was designed to follow. It was meant to be directed, commanded, and employed as a tool to build, create, and serve. When money becomes the master, it enslaves. When money becomes the servant, it liberates. Think for a moment of every great innovation, every business, every act of generosity that has ever transformed society. None of these were born out of a desire to hoard money for its own sake. They were born from vision, from the desire to create value, solve problems, or bring something better into existence. Money only came afterward, as a reward, as proof of service rendered. When you see it this way, you realize that money cannot and should not be the driver of your life. It should be the helper, the instrument through which your vision is carried out. When people allow money to take the role of master, it becomes a cruel one. It drives them into endless work without purpose, into competition without meaning, into stress without fulfillment. They find themselves constantly chasing, yet never catching, because the master they serve is insatiable. Money in this position is like a fire without boundaries. It consumes everything in its path. But when you reclaim your rightful role as master, money becomes like a fire placed carefully in a hearth. It warms, it protects, it enables life to flourish. To see money as a servant is to recognize that it should be directed by your values. If your values are rooted in growth, contribution, and abundance, then your money will flow into things that reflect these ideals. It will build your security, create opportunities, and extend your reach of influence. It will help you send your children to school, support causes you care about, invest in ideas that matter, and allow you to live with dignity. But if your values are unclear, or worse, corrupted, then money will still serve, but it will serve those misguided ends, and the result will always be emptiness. The question then is never how much money you have, but how you command the money you have. Do you allow it to dictate your thoughts, your sense of worth, your peace of mind? Or do you see it as a neutral tool, waiting for you to give it purpose? The man who earns little but directs it wisely often enjoys more freedom than the man who earns much but is enslaved by it. Freedom does not come from the size of one's bank account. It comes from the clarity of one's relationship to money. Money is obedient when you give it orders. It will grow when directed toward investment. It will disappear when wasted without thought. It will multiply when put into ventures that serve others, and it will strengthen when saved with discipline. Like any servant, it takes on the role given to it. If you treat it with wisdom, it becomes a powerful ally. If you treat it with fear or obsession, it becomes a relentless master. The difference lies not in the money itself, but in the mind that directs it. Wealth is created in the mind before it appears in the bank. This is a principle as old as civilization itself, yet so few ever grasp its true power. Every invention, every thriving business, every enduring fortune began first as a thought, an idea, a vision held firmly in the mind of someone who dared to believe it possible. Money does not appear out of thin air. It is the natural consequence of imagination joined with discipline, vision joined with persistence, and belief joined with action. When you understand this, you no longer chase money as though it were something distant. You cultivate the right thoughts, and money follows as a faithful reflection of the mind that created it. The truth is that the mind is the workshop of all riches. What you think about, you begin to act upon. What you act upon consistently, you begin to manifest in the world around you. The person who thinks in terms of scarcity, who constantly dwells on what they lack, will continue to see more of the same. Their decisions will be small, their risk timid, their creativity stifled. But the person who thinks in terms of growth and abundance sees opportunities where others see obstacles. They imagine solutions where others imagine limitations. And because the mind directs their actions eventually direct their bank account. Every great fortune can be traced back not to money but to a state of mind. The Wright brothers did not begin with money, they began with a belief that man could fly. Henry Ford did not begin with wealth, he began with a vision of automobiles for the common man. Entrepreneurs, inventors, leaders throughout history all began with the intangible wealth of thought before the tangible wealth of money arrived. This is why two people can be given the same resources. One will squander them and the other will multiply them. Because the true difference lies in the way they think. Wealth begins with a decision, a clear mental image of what you want to build and why. Without that, even great sums of money vanish quickly. How many stories have we heard of those who win fortunes overnight, only to lose them in a few short years? It is because the mind was never prepared to handle wealth, never conditioned to think as a steward of abundance. Without the mental foundation, wealth is like water poured into a broken vessel. It leaks away. But with the foundation, even small amounts grow, because the mind that is trained in wealth will always find a way to multiply it. To create wealth in the mind is to cultivate discipline, vision, and belief. Discipline to manage resources wisely, vision to see beyond present circumstances, and belief that abundance is possible. The mind that sees possibilities, that imagines growth, that believes in service and contribution, will always find the path to prosperity. Wealth is not the cause of a rich mind is the cause of wealth. Money simply arrives to mirror the thoughts and habits that were already established long before a single coin ever touched the hand. Your beliefs about money shape your financial destiny. The way you think about money acts as a compass, guiding your decisions, your habits, and ultimately the results you experience in your financial life. Many people imagine that wealth is purely the outcome of luck, inheritance, or circumstance, yet time and time again, history reveals otherwise. Two individuals may start with the same resources, but one grows them into prosperity while the other loses them. The difference is not external, it lies within the unseen patterns of thought, the quiet convictions about what money is, what it represents, and how it should be handled. If a person believes money is evil, they will unconsciously push it away. They will sabotage opportunities, avoid responsibility, and live in contradiction with the very thing they secretly desire. On the other hand, if someone believes money is good, useful, and capable of creating freedom and opportunity, they will welcome it, learn to work with it, and treat it with respect. Beliefs act as self-fulfilling prophecies. They become invisible rules that dictate what you will and will not attempt, what risks you take, and what disciplines you adopt. Consider how children who grow up hearing phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "rich people are greedy," internalize these messages. They often carry them into adulthood without ever questioning them. As a result, they may develop guilt around success, or they may sabotage their own growth because deep down, they associate wealth with selfishness or dishonesty. Meanwhile, those who grow up believing that wealth is the fruit of effort, service, and creativity are far more likely to pursue opportunities, invest in themselves, and create value for others. The external difference in wealth stems from the internal difference in belief. When you believe money is scarce, you cling to it tightly. You hoard instead of investing, and you see the world as a battlefield of limited resources. This mindset narrows vision and blinds you to opportunities that could multiply what you have. But when you believe money is abundant, that opportunities for creation and service are endless, you begin to act differently. You invest, you create, you collaborate, and you take steps forward rather than shrinking back. Abundance thinking produces expansive action, while scarcity thinking produces contraction and fear. Your financial destiny is not written in the stock market, the economy, or even your paycheck. It is written in your beliefs. A person who believes they are worthy of wealth will make decisions that align with growth. They will seek knowledge, build habits, and surround themselves with people who reinforce that belief. A person who believes they are destined to struggle will continue to make choices that confirm the struggle, even when opportunities present themselves. The mind is the soil and beliefs are the seeds. If you plant seeds of fear, guilt, and limitation, your financial harvest will reflect those beliefs. If you plant seeds of confidence, responsibility, and abundance, your harvest will reflect those as well. The journey to wealth begins not in the bank, but in the heart and mind of the individual, for it is there that destiny is written and rewritten each day. Scarcity thinking leads to poverty, abundance thinking leads to growth. The mindset you carry toward resources, opportunities, and life itself becomes the lens through which you make every decision. When the mind is locked in scarcity, it views the world as a fixed pie, where one person's gain must always be another person's loss. This way of thinking breeds fear, envy, and hesitation. It keeps people trapped in small actions, clinging to what little they have, unwilling to risk or create. Scarcity whispers that there is never enough, that every chance is too dangerous, that success belongs to others but not to you. And because the mind governs action, this way of thinking leads directly to a life of limitation. Poverty is not only measured in dollars, it is measured in outlook, in missed chances, in the refusal to believe that more is possible. Abundance thinking, on the other hand, transforms the way you see the world. It believes that opportunities multiply the moment they are pursued, that value can always be created, that wealth is not taken but made. With abundance thinking, you no longer see yourself in competition with others, you see yourself as a contributor, adding to the pool of possibilities. When you believe there is more than enough, your energy changes. You act boldly, you take risks that others avoid, and you invest your time and effort with confidence that returns will follow. Growth is not an accident, it is the direct result of a mind trained to look for expansion rather than contraction. Think of how people with scarcity mindsets handle money. They hoard it, afraid of losing what they have. They avoid investing, fearful of risk. They stay in jobs they hate, worried they won't find another. In trying to hold tightly to what little they possess, they choke off the very flow of growth. Over time, their fear becomes reality and their finances, careers, and lives stagnate. Now think of those with abundance mindsets. They treat money as a tool, something to be used to create more value. They invest in education, in relationships, in businesses, trusting that each step can open new doors. They understand that even if they fail, lessons learned will position them for greater success tomorrow. And because they move forward instead of shrinking back, they grow. Abundance is not Norva optimism. It does not ignore reality. Rather, it redefines it. It says that no matter how limited circumstances may appear, there is always a way to expand. It says that wealth begins in ideas, not in possessions. It says that giving and creating bring back more than hoarding and withholding ever will. Scarcity locks doors, abundance opens them. Scarcity shrinks life, abundance expands it. The poverty of scarcity is not imposed from outside, it is cultivated within. And the growth of abundance does not wait for perfect conditions. It begins with the decision to see more, to believe more, and to act in alignment with the truth that there is always room for creation and growth. Discipline with money is more powerful than talent with money. Many people assume that the ability to make money quickly or cleverly is the greatest financial advantage, but history has shown us again and again that it is not. A sudden fortune gained without discipline is soon lost, while modest earnings managed with patience and consistency grow into lasting wealth. Talent may give someone a head start, but discipline determines whether the journey reaches its destination. The truth is that money responds not to brilliance in the short term, but to steady and wise handling over the long term. Discipline is the act of controlling impulses, of saying no when emotions say yes, of choosing the long-term benefit over the short-term pleasure. Without it, even the most talented investor, entrepreneur, or professional will eventually stumble. We see it in lottery winners who lose everything within a few years, in athletes who earn millions yet retire broke, in entrepreneurs who strike gold once but cannot sustain success. Talent may open the door, but discipline keeps it from closing. Talent may build a fortune, but discipline preserves and multiplies it. Discipline with money means budgeting wisely, saving consistently, investing patiently, and avoiding the traps of unnecessary debt. It means understanding that wealth is built one choice at a time, not in dramatic leaps. A disciplined person may earn an average income, but because they live below their means, save diligently, and invest regularly, they will eventually surpass the talented spender who lives without restraint. Compound growth works only for those who practice consistent discipline. It punishes those who abandon it. Consider two individuals. One is gifted in making deals, sharp with numbers and quick to spot opportunities. The other is ordinary, with no exceptional financial insight. The first makes large sums but spends as fast as he earns, chasing luxuries and giving in to impulse. The second earns modestly but saves each month, invests steadily, and controls expenses. After a decade, it is not the talented one who holds real wealth, but the disciplined one. This is the quiet power of discipline. It does not dazzle in the moment, but it compounds into undeniable strength over time. Discipline also protects against the emotions that often ruin financial progress. Fear and greed drive markets, and those without discipline are tossed about like ships without anchors. A disciplined mind stays steady when prices rise or fall, when uncertainty looms, when temptation whispers. It remembers the plan, holds to principles, and acts with clarity instead of panic. Talent may lead someone to make a brilliant move once, but discipline allows someone to make wise moves repeatedly. Over years, it is not the occasional brilliance but the consistent wisdom that builds enduring wealth. Talent is flashy, discipline is quiet. Talent impresses in the moment, discipline endures for a lifetime. The disciplined person may never seem extraordinary at first glance, yet their steady choices accumulate into extraordinary results. Money respects discipline more than it respects talent, for talent can be squandered, but discipline multiplies whatever it is given. Discipline is the true measure of financial mastery, and without it no amount of talent can secure lasting prosperity. Value creation always precedes financial gain. Money is never the starting point, it is always the outcome. Every dollar earned is simply an exchange for value provided, whether that value comes in the form of a product, a service, an idea, or even a solution to a pressing problem. Too often people chase the money itself, hoping to get rich without first considering how they might contribute something useful, something needed, something that improves life for others. This pursuit rarely leads to lasting wealth because money flows not to those who demand it, but to those who create value so significant that others are willing, even eager, to exchange their resources for it. When you look back at the most successful individuals in history, you find a common thread. They did not focus first on money, they focused on contribution. Thomas Edison sought to bring light where there was darkness, and money followed his solutions. Steve Jobs and his team sought to make technology simple, beautiful, and accessible, and the financial rewards came afterward. Entrepreneurs who think only of profit often fade quickly, but those who dedicate themselves to creating true value, to solving real problems, to meeting genuine needs, build empires that endure. The sequence never changes: first the idea, then the value, then the gain. This principle applies not only to inventions and businesses but to every individual life. An employee who constantly seeks to expand their skills, to bring more ideas, energy, and problem-solving ability to their workplace will inevitably rise in position and pay. The one who only does the minimum, thinking about a paycheck rather than the value they bring, will find advancement slow or non-existent. Wealth and opportunity are magnets to value, they are repelled by mediocrity. To focus on money before value is like planting seeds after expecting a harvest. It reverses the natural order. Value creation also builds trust and reputation, which are themselves forms of wealth that compound over time. A business that consistently delivers value earns loyal customers who return again and again. A professional who goes beyond expectation becomes known for reliability and excellence, attracting better opportunities. These intangibles cannot be bought directly, yet they lead to financial gain more surely than any shortcut or trick. In this sense, money is not the true goal. It is a certificate of value rendered, proof that you have given something others consider worthwhile. The key, then, is to shift focus from asking, "How can I make more money?" to "How can I create more value?" The former leads to shortcuts, impatience, and disappointment. The latter leads to innovation, service, and long-term prosperity. Those who dedicate themselves to becoming more valuable, to their families, their companies, their communities, and the world, find that money comes as a natural byproduct. And unlike fleeting gains that vanish quickly, Wealth rooted in value endures because it is supported by real substance. Value is the foundation, financial gain is the inevitable structure that rises upon it. Gratitude attracts wealth, entitlement repels it. The way you approach life, the mindset with which you see the world, plays a profound role in the opportunities you create and the wealth you experience. Gratitude is a state of recognition and appreciation, a habit of acknowledging what you already have and using it wisely. Entitlement, on the other hand, is the belief that you are owed something without effort, that wealth should come simply because you desire it. These two attitudes may appear subtle in difference, but their effects are worlds apart. One opens doors to growth, generosity, and prosperity. The other closes them and leaves a person stuck in dissatisfaction and scarcity. A grateful person sees every resource, every skill, every relationship as something valuable. Instead of complaining about what they lack, they focus on how to maximize what they already possess. This mindset fuels creativity and responsibility. If given a small sum, the grateful person manages it carefully, invests it wisely, and multiplies it over time. If given a new opportunity, they treat it with respect, showing up with energy and commitment. Their appreciation builds trust, and trust attracts more opportunities. Gratitude is magnetic. It draws people, resources, and even unseen possibilities toward those who practice it consistently. Entitlement, however, blinds the mind to opportunity. The entitled person believes wealth should be handed to them, that success should arrive without sweat or sacrifice. Instead of working diligently with what they have, they spend time resenting others who have more. They ask, "Why don't I have what I deserve?" rather than asking, "How can I create more value with what I've been given?" This mindset breeds bitterness and laziness, two qualities that repel both people and prosperity. Employers, partners, and communities are reluctant to invest in someone who takes without gratitude, for they sense the imbalance and the lack of contribution. Gratitude not only opens external opportunities, it also shifts the inner state. A grateful person carries an energy of abundance. They see the world as full of blessings, and this positive vision leads them to notice possibilities others overlook. They approach challenges with optimism, knowing that even setbacks contain lessons. This outlook naturally leads to persistence, and persistence is one of the most powerful ingredients in creating wealth. Entitlement, in contrast, produces frustration and despair. When results do not arrive immediately, the entitled person quits, convinced they have been wronged. They give up the very effort that could have produced results in time, ensuring their poverty of both spirit and bank account. The wealthy in spirit are always grateful regardless of how much or how little they currently possess. They know that wealth is built first from within. They count their blessings, nurture them, and expand them. In doing so, they attract more. Gratitude says, "I see the value in this and I will honor it." Entitlement says, "This is not enough. I deserve more without effort." One attitude builds wealth and trust, the other corrodes both. Life responds to gratitude with abundance, and it responds to entitlement with emptiness. The wealthy focus on growth, not on mere consumption. This is one of the greatest distinctions between those who build lasting prosperity and those who merely appear rich for a fleeting moment. Consumption is the act of spending resources on immediate pleasures, cars, clothes, gadgets, luxuries that fade quickly once purchased. Growth, on the other hand, is the deliberate use of resources to expand capacity, to multiply opportunities, and to create lasting value. While consumption satisfies for a moment, growth builds a foundation for decades. Those who chase only consumption often find themselves trapped in a cycle of working to spend, spending to impress, and impressing without fulfillment. Their wealth is measured by what they display, not by what they build. They believe status is demonstrated by visible possessions, but this mindset keeps them dependent on constant income without creating real security. When difficulties come, their lifestyle collapses because it was built on display, not on strength. The truly wealthy understand that possessions are temporary, but growth endures. They prioritize investments, education, business opportunities, and networks that will continue to expand long after the thrill of a purchase is gone. Growth is the principle that turns money into more money, knowledge into wisdom, and effort into multiplied results. The wealthy person looks at every dollar not as something to spend but as a seed that can be planted. When placed in the soil of investment, that seed grows into more resources. When spent only on consumption, that seed is eaten and gone forever. This difference in mindset is why two people with the same income can end up with vastly different destinies. One leaves behind wealth that grows, while the other leaves behind nothing but memories of things purchased and long forgotten. Focusing on growth also shapes the way the wealthy use their time. They do not simply spend hours on entertainment or distraction. They study, they learn, they build relationships, they seek out mentors and opportunities to expand their thinking. To them, growth is not confined to financial wealth alone. It is the development of mind, character, and influence. By constantly expanding their own capabilities, they ensure that opportunities continue to find them, because opportunities are always drawn to prepared minds. Consumption can only provide temporary comfort, but growth provides lasting power. The irony is that when you focus on growth, consumption eventually becomes effortless. The person who builds wealth through investments, businesses, and disciplined habits will one day be able to enjoy luxuries without stress, because their foundation is secure. But the person who chases luxuries before growth will never experience true freedom, for they will always be bound to the next paycheck, the next purchase, the next fleeting thrill. Growth first, consumption later. That is the order that leads to prosperity. The wealthy know this truth and live by it, while those who remain poor ignore it and wonder why their lives never change. Wealth is not measured by what you consume, but by what you grow, and growth is the only path that multiplies beyond a single lifetime. Fear and greed are the greatest destroyers of wealth. Both are emotions that cloud judgment, distort reality, and push people into decisions that work against their long-term prosperity. Fear paralyzes the mind, convincing people to avoid risk at all costs, even when opportunities stand clearly before them. Greed, on the other hand, drives people to chase after quick riches, abandoning patience, discipline, and wisdom in favor of immediate gain. Together, these two forces account for more financial ruin than lack of opportunity, lack of education, or even bad luck. Wealth is rarely lost to external forces alone. It is most often lost to the internal enemies of fear and greed. Fear whispers that the world is unsafe, that every step forward will result in loss, that it is better to cling to what little one has than to reach for more. It causes people to miss chances to invest, to start businesses, or to try new paths. Fear creates hesitation, and hesitation creates stagnation. A fearful mind keeps money idle, and idle money never grows. In times of uncertainty, fear pushes people to sell assets too early, to retreat at the very moment patience was required, and to abandon strategies that could have yielded wealth in the long run. Fear's power lies not in protecting wealth, but in slowly draining it through inaction. Greed, however, works in the opposite way. It blinds people with the illusion of easy gain. It convinces them that shortcuts exist, that rules of patience and discipline can be ignored, that they can have rewards without paying the price of persistence. Greed fuels speculation, reckless investments, and impulsive spending. It causes people to gamble with what should have been preserved, to chase promises too good to be true, and to lose sight of the principle that steady growth always outlasts sudden spikes. Where fear paralyzes, greed intoxicates. Both lead to ruin, but greed often destroys faster, because it can wipe away years of effort in a single reckless decision. The disciplined mind understands that wealth requires balance. It knows that opportunities must be taken, but not recklessly. Risks must be managed, but not avoided. Wealth is built by clear thought, patient planning, and the courage to act when others are ruled by fear, combined with the restraint to hold back when others are driven by greed. It is in mastering these two forces that financial success becomes sustainable. Those who learn to quiet fear and resist greed rise steadily, while those who succumb to either remain trapped in cycles of loss and regret. Fear and greed appear strongest in times of change. In economic downturns, fear pushes people to retreat, selling assets for less than they are worth. In economic booms, greed pushes people to overextend, buying into markets at inflated prices. Yet those who master themselves, who keep calm when others panic and stay disciplined when others rush, build fortunes while others destroy them. Wealth is less about numbers in a bank account and more about the strength of mind to resist the two greatest destroyers. The person who conquers fear and greed does not merely preserve wealth. They ensure its steady growth across a lifetime. Mastering money means mastering yourself. The way you earn, save, spend, and invest is not just about numbers on a page or coins in your hand. It is a reflection of your habits, your discipline, and your mindset. Money is neutral. It carries no judgment, no intent, no will of its own. It will obey whatever commands you give it, and those commands come not from chance, but from the level of mastery you hold over your own desires, fears, and impulses. To lose control of yourself is to lose control of your money, and to gain control of yourself is to ensure that money will follow your lead. Every dollar that passes through your hands is a test of your discipline. Do you spend it carelessly for immediate gratification, or do you direct it with intention toward your long-term vision? Most financial problems are not caused by insufficient income, but by insufficient control. People often say they need more money, but what they really need is greater mastery over themselves, over the tendency to waste, to give in to impulse, to confuse wants with needs. Without self-control, no income is ever enough. With self-control, even modest means can grow into significant wealth. Self-mastery with money requires patience. It means resisting the temptation of short-term pleasure for the sake of long-term gain. It requires courage. The courage to invest when others doubt. The courage to say no to unnecessary expenses. The courage to wait for the right opportunities rather than chasing quick fixes. It also requires honesty, the ability to face your own weaknesses and correct them. Money reveals the truth about character. If you are disorganized, your finances will show it. If you are disciplined, your finances will reflect it. The habits you build determine whether money becomes a servant or a master. If you budget, save, and invest consistently, you are demonstrating control over your impulses and vision over your future. If you let money slip away through reckless spending, you are demonstrating a lack of mastery, allowing emotions and habits to dictate your destiny. The wealthiest individuals are not always the most talented or the most fortunate. They are often those who exercise the greatest self-control, who live by principles rather than by impulses. To master yourself financially also means mastering your emotions. Fear can cause you to miss opportunities, while greed can cause you to take reckless risks. Anxiety can cause you to hoard, while pride can cause you to spend beyond your means to impress others. Each of these is an inner challenge, not an external one. The battle is within, and until it is won, no amount of money will bring peace. True mastery is calm, steady, and clear-eyed, making decisions not based on emotion but on principle and purpose. In the end, money only magnifies who you already are. If you are disciplined, it multiplies discipline. If you are reckless, it multiplies recklessness. To master money is not to control numbers, but to control the person making the decisions behind those numbers. When you gain mastery over yourself, your thoughts, your habits, your fears, and your desires, you gain mastery over money, and with it, the power to build a life of freedom, growth, and lasting prosperity. The truth about money is that it is never the real master. It is only a mirror. It reflects back the quality of our thoughts, the strength of our discipline, the clarity of our vision, and the depth of our character. Wealth begins not in the bank, but in the mind. It grows not through luck, but through value creation, gratitude, and self-mastery. It is protected not by chance, but by resisting fear and greed, by focusing on growth instead of consumption, by practicing patience instead of chasing shortcuts. Money will always serve the one who commands it with wisdom, but it will enslave the one who allows it to rule their life. To master the psychology of money is to master yourself, and in mastering yourself, you open the door to abundance, freedom, and a destiny of your own design. And so I leave you with this central idea. He who masters the psychology of money has already mastered wealth. For riches always follow the mind prepared to receive them. The time to begin is now, not tomorrow, not someday, today. Take one positive step forward, create a plan for your money, not a wish. Study its patterns, understand your habits, and discipline your mind. From that moment, you will not only change your finances, you will change your future.